How good are you at setting boundaries? Because I find that a lot of women aren't very good at all. Welcome. I'm Tanya Vasallo, the founder of The Courage to Be Happy. And I want to talk about boundaries today and how we can set stronger boundaries, because this is such an important element to building our wealth, to creating abundance, to being able to fulfill our desires. Here's what I've found is, as women, we're not really good at setting boundaries. And it's not your fault. You know, I'd love for you to rate yourself on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being I'm horrible at boundaries and 10 being I'm an amazing person at boundaries. Where do you feel you stand? You know, really think about that. Because the reason why women haven't been really good at setting up boundaries is, unfortunately, it's not our fault. It really isn't. It's patriarchy is what has created this. Because as women, what's happened to us is that it's been passed down to us for millennia that we aren't as worthy as men, and that we are here to serve others, to serve our kids, to serve our husbands, to serve our brothers, our parents. And it's not true. We need to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of everyone else. It's like the whole analogy of when you're on the plane and they say, you need to put on your oxygen mask before you put the oxygen mask on the kids. How many of us as moms think that we should be putting our oxygen mask on our kid before ourselves? You can't. You won't be able to save your kid if you do that. What happens if you pass out? So it's really important for us to understand that it's not our fault that we haven't been taught how to set strong boundaries. Like I said, it's been passed down to us and it's ingrained in us at a cellular level. And there's proof scientifically that this gets passed down from generation to generation to generation, that it's been passed down to us that we are here to serve others and not to serve ourselves. So the first step on setting boundaries is to get really clear as to what you want. What are your desires? What is it that you want? And you can look at other videos talking about our wants and our desires, but you need to get crystal clear so that you can say no, and you can set those boundaries around you as to what it is that you want. And here's a thing to keep in mind. As women, when we set boundaries, we tend to feel really guilty. That's also part of the programming. We've been programmed through patriarchy that if you are taking a stand for yourself, if you are setting a boundary, if you're taking care of yourself before you're taking care of everyone else, that is not the right thing to do. And so we feel guilty. So this is going to be a work in progress for you. This is not going to be a one-stop shop where you're like, oh, okay, I understand that intellectually. I need to start setting boundaries. You're going to have to strengthen that muscle. You're going to have to keep working at this, because if you want to create a life of richness, of abundance, of prosperity, you need to be very clear first as to what it is that you want. And second, you need to start setting those boundaries around that. So how do we start setting up boundaries? The first thing we need to do once you get clear is to be able to, when things show up, because you're going to be tested by the universe is going to say, oh, here you go. Let's see if you really have those strong boundaries you say you're working on. They're going to invite you to a commitment. They're going to invite you to volunteer at a committee or a nonprofit, or you're going to be a board on a certain, there's going to be things that show up for you. And so my invitation to you is to first start practicing. I was not good at this until my husband taught me about it. As people invite you to something, it could be a dinner, it could be a party, it could be a volunteer job, whatever it is. I used to say immediately, yes, sure, yeah, we can go. And then what happens is you become resentful because you said yes to something that you truly didn't really feel like you wanted to do. And so you don't want to become resentful because it's not the other person's fault. You really have to set those strong boundaries. So when someone invites you to something, here's the practice. You can say, oh, Thank you for that invitation. Let me ask my spouse and see if that would work for him or her on her calendar. Let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. Let me consult with my business partner and I'll get back to you. So you see, you're buying yourself some time to be able to say no. Because for those of us that we tend to be more of the people pleasers, and that this programming has been so ingrained into us of being the goody two-shoes and saying yes to everyone at the expense of our own health and our own, needs and wants, you want to start strengthening that muscle and setting that boundary. So the first thing you want to do is say, let me get back to you. And once you get back to them, be very clear. If you're saying yes, what are you saying no to? Because with every yes, you are sacrificing something else, and is that one of the things that you want? If it's a go ahead and you deep down really feel like you want to do this thing and you want to commit to it, you want to commit your time, you want to commit your energy, you want to commit your money, whatever it is, then say yes. If it's a no, I want you to know, no redundancy here, I want you to know that no is a full answer, and that you can say no to someone with kindness. And you can say, thank you for that invitation. I'm so happy that you thought of me, but unfortunately it's not going to work for me. And here's another invitation. You don't need to go into a whole story when you say no. That used to happen to me. I'd come up with excuses. I'd go into story when I was saying no. You can set a boundary with the word no in kindness and in gratitude, and just move on. Here's the third part to this. You're going to start saying no to people, and those that are used to you giving yourself in and being the server to everyone and bending backwards for everyone, you're going to say no, and you're going to start setting boundaries, and they're not going to like it. But here's what I want you to remember. You can't feel guilty. And it's their problem. That's not your problem anymore. And they'll figure it out and they'll get over it. And guess what? If they're not treating you right or they stop being your friends, then they weren't worth it in the first place. And the hardest people to do this with and setting boundaries tend to be family. So just be cautious of that too, because what you're doing, be compassionate with yourself, as you're educating your family members these are my new set of rules. I know I used to operate this way, but these are my new set of rules. So let's go over boundaries. First thing is, be kind to yourself. It's not your fault if you're not a good boundary setter. Second thing is, you want to get crystal clear as to what it is that you do want, so that it becomes easier to say no to other things. The third thing is, as you get invited to do things or to be part of things, you want to buy yourself some time. You want to say, oh, let me get back to you. Let me consult with my partner or with my spouse or with whoever it is, or let me check my calendar. The next step is reminding yourself that every time you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And vice versa. Every time you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. If you're saying no to that dinner party, you are saying yes to time for yourself and to caring for yourself. Also remember that women, we are not here to serve everyone else. And we can set boundaries, healthy boundaries, with our spouses, with our kids, with our family members, with our friends. So remember, you are here to take care of yourself first. And last but not least is get over the guilt. Look for support. Please post in the comments below. Let me know what boundaries you've been setting up this past week. Has it been hard? Has it been easy? Please share in the comments below if it's easy for you to set boundaries or if it's hard for you to set boundaries. And thank you so much for spending the time listening to this video. I'd love to hear about your boundaries. If you think this video would be helpful for other women, please share it with them. And hit subscribe. That way you will be able to get notified when all these videos come out. I think they're very useful. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to hearing from you and connecting with you in a future video. Take care.